Hey guys and girls, it's Fox Green back here again, and today I'll be doing another teching video. I'm going to be checking out my MK23 and my silencing mod for the silencer here. Now, as a lot of you know, there's this mod called the fart flap mod, and it's where a piece of tape is covered over the end of the silencer to vastly reduce the sound suppression from an MK23 or an average SSX23 a lot more, and it really does work. Some people say it messes with your accuracy and stuff like that, and to a certain effect, yes it does. But today I'm going to show you a method that I do that I have not seen anybody else do, and not only does it completely eliminate all muzzle velocity sound, it actually doesn't really affect accuracy half as bad, and it's all down to the materials I use and how I install it. But it works off the same principle as a fart flap mod, but the way I do it is just a little bit extra special. So this is one mod that anyone that owns an MK23 will want to do and should do. So first of all, I'll just give you a little sample of how the MK23 sounds with no suppressor. It's quite loud, and then immediately when you put the suppressor on with the standard foam filled suppressor, it sounds completely different. So let's try that again. So while it doesn't sound probably on camera that much quieter, I can tell you it is very quiet. Now when my mod is done, it's going to be the same as doing this to your gun. So effectively all you'll hear is just the hammer. There'll be no sound coming from the suppressor. So when my mod is done, it'll sound like this. Now for ye on camera it mightn't sound so good, but literally all you can hear is this. So obviously all you're going to need is your MK23. You won't need the gun, so you can just take the suppressor off for now, and let's put the gun to one side or down on the floor. Then all you're going to need other than your suppressor is some glue. Now I recommend shoe glue if you can get it, but if you can't, super glue will do the trick for this mod. You'll probably need a screwdriver, a sharp Stanley blade, scissors, and also just a marker pen or anything to draw on. Oh, and I almost forgot, the most important material you're going to need for this is rubber gloves. Believe it or not, that's what we're going to make our fart flap out of, and there's a very good reason for that. One is that when you do this mod and you do it in the way that I show you how to do it, this is rubber, and when the BB will hit these flaps, it'll actually increase the backspin on the BB, which in effect will help spin the BB further and also prevent it from losing accuracy like the traditional fart flap mod normally does. Now at the end of this video, I'm also going to do an accuracy test to show you how accuracy is affected, but in my opinion it's not really affected that bad with my method. Before you take out the foam parts of the suppressor to do this mod, make sure you put your suppressor on and have it fully tightened on so it won't go anymore. Take your permanent marker and put a little mark on the very top center of your suppressor and also the very bottom of your suppressor. So as I look at you, I'm putting it at this end of the suppressor on the very top, and also the shooting end of the suppressor on the top. A little mark, and I'll show you why that's important later on. So the first thing we're going to do, guys and girls, is we're going to open up the suppressor, and using the screwdriver that I got here, we're going to push out the foam inserts one by one. That's why I have a screwdriver, because it can be hard to get these guys out. There should be 4 to 5 in these, I think, if I can remember correctly. Sometimes a good blow sorts it out. There you go, that's the last one. So that's all 4 of them. Next thing what we want to do is so the idea of this is that we are going to do fart flaps out of a better material first of all, right? The rubber gloves. As I said, it's rubber, it's made the same material like a hop-up nub is. We're also going to position it in such a way when we put them in, we're going to be rotating a very particular angle to help with backspin and BB and to reduce any issues with accuracy. But also the most important thing is that what you want to do effectively to make a good fart flap is you want to stop all the volume of air coming out the front of the suppressor, right? So if you can imagine, this foam in here is taking up a certain volume, and because it's foam, some of the air will go into it and some of it will get out behind the BB. But realistically what we want to do is we want to trap in sections like a real suppressor the air, so it never comes out the end of the suppressor. So absolutely no air is going to come out the end of the suppressor. First thing we do is we increase the volume. So that means we throw away that, because that is going to give us more air volume. And that means the very last foam piece, initially when the air comes into the suppressor, it's going to have a big area to fill up first of all, which is great. That's the first stage. The final stage is that we're going to add 3 fart flaps. Yeah, that's right, 3. So a lot of people are wondering, geez, that sounds like a lot, that's going to affect accuracy. But trust me. So we're going to add one in front of each section of foam, making 3 separate compartments to stop and capture all of that air. First of all, we're going to trace the shape of the suppressor onto the rubber gloves. And this is a pretty thick marker. You could probably get a much smaller one than this, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing here now. Okay, so there's one circle. Quite rough, but that's fine. And then let's do another one. So we need 3 of these. Now I recommend that they're double layered, and that's why I'm doing it on this side of the glove. So for the flaps to close quickly, they need to be rigid. 1 layer of this isn't enough, so I recommend 2 to 3 layers of the rubber gloves, and that gives them a bit more rigidity to close again after the BB's pass through. In 3 positions within the silencer, right? So there, that's good enough. So all we need to do now really is just cut them out. And this doesn't need to be like the most perfect circle. It can be quite rough with it. Okay, so that's 1 double layer. The distances I use my Mark23, I've had basically no complaints with accuracy. And the key when you're using a Mark23, remember, is also to actually use the heaviest BBs possible. Use .48s in them. On 1 joule, for some reason, this gun shoots 0.48 gram BBs super straight and super far, like 70 meters plus. And because of using .48s, it also helps with the fact that the fart flaps aren't going to affect its accuracy, because the BB's got enough weight to blow these out of the way, while the air behind it will get trapped, which is the key. Basically, this is my way of taking the fart flap idea and improving it significantly. So there you go, it's as simple as that. We got 3 double sets of the rubber, so we're now done with those. Great. So now what we need to do, guys and girls, is we need to stick these effectively together. As I said, super glue works fine for this, right? This is just any old standard glue. And I'm gonna, when I'm placing the glue, I'm gonna not place it in the middle, I'm just gonna place it around the edges. Now I probably did put way too much glue on that. I'm just gonna put a bit less. There's no need to put a huge amount of glue on this. I've done this mod before, so I'm essentially just redoing this for you on the camera to show you how I did it the first time. So now we'll just stick these guys down like so, like so. And as I said, you could do these, you could do 3 layers if you want, right? So basically just leave that set there for about 10 minutes before you come back to the final bit. So now that we have those stuck down and they're doubled up, we basically just are going to roughly mark the center point of each, right? So I'm eyeing this up. You could do this more accurately. But for this purpose, I'm just going to eye them up, okay? Now, this is where the Stanley knife comes into play. So for each of these, you want to cut the standard fart flap, or cat's arse as I like to call it, into each one, because it basically looks like a cat's arse when you're done. So right. Now there's also another way you can do this. If the blade isn't working out, and it can be quite hard to cut it with the rubber, the easier way that some people might like to do it is you just simply catch it and you fold them over like so. And to be honest, for a lot of people this is the easier way. Fold them over. Again, you want to cut your small incision with your scissors right in the center point like so. Start small, you can increase it in size. I always recommend cut the hole small first and you can go around and fix it. You can make it longer, you can make it longer after the fact then if you require. Okay, so now can you see what we got here? We've got the perfect little far flap there, or cat's arse. So yeah, that's perfect. The length is quite good. You can take it over your suppressor, roughly measure it, but yeah, that's pretty good. So now you just repeat that for all three. So okay, we've got all three of those made. Now this is the easy part. You're gonna have to stick these onto the top of each of your 3 remaining foam pieces, and you're gonna have to center that hole as best as you can over it. The best way to center, because when you put this over like this, you can't see the center of the foam, is to actually rotate it around and look through it. And when you look through it, you should be able to see if you're centered or not. So to do this, again, I'm taking my glue and I'm applying it, and you don't need to apply much, but you're just going to put a few dabs of it on this glue, on this foam like this. So with that glue applied, you're going to roughly, as best you can, position it over the foam, turn it over, and then you can see by looking through it that it's centered or not. You can leave that to one side, you can leave it down like this to help it. Then guys, final bit is just assembly and you're done. Like that's it. This is the mod, is so bloody simple. So for assembly, you might find that before you assemble them, you've got little bits of rubber excess around the foam piece. Now if you want, you can take up your scissors again and you can just trim those bits off. They'll come off very easy. But you know, it's not the end of the world if you don't want to. So the final thing I'm going to do before I actually put this in is one of them, it doesn't matter which one, I'm going to paint the end of it with my permanent marker here black. And that's just because the rubber here is actually quite bright and I just want it not to be visible in the end of the suppressor, because at the very end of this we're not going to have tape over the end of the suppressor, we won't need it. So now we need to put the foam parts back in, and this is the important part. So remember earlier when I marked the top and bottom of the silencer with the little black mark? Well, because these are made of rubber, they can actually assist in the hop up or the backspin of the BB. For these far flaps to actually assist the backspin in the BB and not reduce it, the best way to install it is the black mark, as you can see here, needs to be in line with this, because the BB is gonna, so essentially you don't want the X, the actual line, the split coming up to this way. You want it so that the split is either side of it, and that reason is the BB has a bigger area to contact here when it's coming out. So if the BB is breaking it this way, you know, you have two sides of the flap that are going to be hitting it, which won't really assist in the backspin, but when it's this way it will. So the first thing we need to do is put in the piece that I colored black first. So to do this, the way I need to do it is I'm going to put it in again with my black mark like that, and the split either side of it as best I can, like so. Then we're going to install it. Again, the next one, the same idea, the split either side, not like this, but like this. And again, we push that in. And finally the last one, again, not like this, we're going to have it like this, split either side of the black mark. And then we essentially just push them all in, the whole way down. And you need your screwdriver here. And then you can see, right, that's what you have at the end. So you can just see that, you can just see the last one with the black marker, so the black just helps it not stick out as much. Now, straight away, if I take up my silencer, now I'm going to actually have to put this end piece on first, so let's just get that on. Now, if I insert my silencer back on, the noise reduction will be ridiculous, and it really comes into effect when you have a BB in the gun. So completely reduced. So completely reduced. So here I'm going to be doing a grouping test. First of all without the silencer completely, and then second of all with the silencer with my mod in it. And I'll be using my Olight laser to ensure that I'm pointing and aiming at the same point each time I pull the trigger, and then at the end at the 15-meter range will assess what the groupings are like. So this is my setup, and that's the target down the hall. So let's go down and check it out. So as I said, this is 15 meters from one end to the other. And okay, so this is 15 meters with no mod. So no silencer, no mod whatsoever. Let's see how the gun groups here. Okay, mag in, it's freshly gassed up. And we're just gonna go for it here. Okay, and we're just gonna go for it here. You can ignore the shot that's already on the paper. I was just taking a test shot. So here we go, this is the test. Shots. Now, to be fair, I'm going to gas up the mag again, make sure there's absolutely no ambiguity. I'm going to stick the silencer straight on. Oh, that looks badass. And now we're going to take 8 shots again, but we're going to change out the target down there first. And let's get ready to try and group these as best we can. Okay, that's all the shots. Let's turn that off and let's see how he got on. Let's check that out. Right, so here is our 15 meters no mod versus our 15 meters with a mod. So as crazy as this might seem, my one with the mod is actually a much tighter group, which is quite unusual. Now, I know that we had 2 shots in this first test that were kind of weak, but you can see that something's quite unique is going on here. So as you can see, this method works quite well. So as you can see from that accuracy test, accuracy is barely affected at all. So this works really well, and that's because I'm using heavy 0.48 gram BBs. That's the key here. And because the material I'm using is rubber and is helping to backspin it, and because I've aligned them in such a way inside the suppressor, I'm maximizing the output and getting everything to work really well. So this is a much more effective method than just sticking any kind of tape on the end of the barrel, because by the time the air hits that, it's all going to exit anyway. I'm stopping that air back inside the suppressor. That's what just like a real suppressor would do. There's no air or just very little exiting out the end of this gun. So as always, guys and girls, I really hope you found this an informative video. Definitely try it out. You got nothing to lose by going this method. If you don't like it, you can just go back to the one far flat mod if you want. But this is something every MK23 owner should do. Be it a TM MK23, an ASG MK23, or Novich's SSX23, or even his new SSX 303 carbine kit that's coming out. This is a mod you're going to want to do for all of them. And it's the reason why you can get footage like this inside of 3 meters without the enemy even seeing you. I get probably one of the best streaks here with my MK23. But however, you still can see all the guys I hit while in this position. I have my back to enemies and they're running past me and I'm in this bush. Notice here the enemies are right behind me and don't see me. I need to learn to move a lot slower. The enemy doesn't know where he got shot from, even though I shot him from less than half a meter away. The enemies just over my shoulder are actually shooting through the bush, right over my head.
That was some fucking shot, whizzed past my head. You got hit there, lad. You did it, yeah, you got hit.
Awesome, sir. Hit!
Good shot.
So guys and girls, if you found this video really informative, please hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell, and don't be afraid to leave a comment. I like to answer all comments, and if there's anything that I missed in this or you want to clarify, I'll definitely answer it in the comment section. And don't forget also to give it a thumbs up. I'm Fox Green, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.